Hi, my name's Maya Dove. I'm 23. I'm a model and youth caseworker, and I've had a spinal cord injury since birth.
A couple of birth spinal cord injuries. Look at you guys already just hanging out.
Well, you're the odd man out here, bros. There's two of us now.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm interested to see how yours came about because obviously we had sounds like the same thing, but I'm sure they are different. We don't always love diving straight into the disability, but I think it's relevant. Let's dive straight into it because we don't normally always dive straight into the disability, but because we're pretty much the similar or same or maybe very different, who knows? What was your birth injury?
Yeah, so I was born a seemingly healthy baby. My parents have said that I did have quite puffy feet, but the doctors and nurses couldn't really point out why that was. So they took me home and my parents found that I was losing weight and my limbs were becoming quite limp. So they took me to health professionals, and basically what they told my parents was that they were just being anxious first-time parents and to go home basically. But things weren't getting better, so at 6 weeks my parents took me to the Royal Children's Hospital here in Melbourne, and they found that I had a type of cyst called neuroenteric cysts all throughout my spinal cord from T3 to C7, or C5, sorry.
So you
which
had
is quite high.
You had cysts at every lesion all the way down, or just one big one?
From my knowledge, because I was a baby,
Yeah,
it was
sorry,
from
yeah.
T3 to C5.
Okay.
And basically, neuroenteric cysts are when the cells that form your esophagus kind of get misjumbled, and they can either go in your brain or spinal cord. And for me, that was in my spinal cord, and they only make up 1% of all spinal tumours globally.
We would much rather them in the spine than the brain, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. I'm very fortunate.
Brain is.
Well, let's mention.
Your brain would be not very good.
Okay.
I think you'd be lucky to be here.
Yeah.
Brain damage should
Okay.
be, yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
Good to know.
Yeah, I think,
know.
because obviously, any fluid on the brain or cyst on the brain is very, very, can be very bad.
So it could have been there. So apart from the fact you're a 1%er when it comes to the
1%,
type
yeah.
of your,
Yeah.
but also
Location.
it's not lucky.
Yeah.
Because it's unlucky, but lucky that it was on your spine, I guess, for you
Yes.
to be here.
Yeah, and because they hadn't seen it before, they had to coach a retired paediatric neurosurgeon to come out of retirement to do the
Who's that?
surgery. Michael Clark, I think. I have no idea.
Michael Clark.
So he's just sitting there drinking red wine at
Yeah.
night with his cheese,
Like, oh, I'm
earned
done.
his retirement, probably got a nice house on the
Yeah.
Sunshine Coast. They're like, hey,
Totally.
we've got a newborn. We need you back. And there he is strapping on his
Yeah.
suit again.
He made a double century at the SCG too. Michael Clark, anyone?
It's Michael Klug, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. No, it wasn't
Way
even
off.
close.
Good joke. And so all you've known is life in a chair.
Yeah, basically, I don't remember the surgeries. I've had a lot of surgeries since
Yeah.
then, but yeah, I don't know what it's like. to
So
be
the
able to-
surgery was the cyst was cut out.
Not all of them, because it was quite deep in the spinal
Yeah.
cord, so they've got most of it out. And so
Okay.
I usually just have like every 5 years an MRI to make sure that hasn't.
Just for everyone listening, sorry, I'm nerding out. Sorry that I'm nerding out, but it's similar to what I had. So I was born with a tumour wrapped around my spinal cord. So the difference was yours was in and you couldn't see it. Mine was like half a melon popping out. So obviously got operated on straight away. But part of my tumour is still in my spine. You can't cut it all out because like you can't just cut your spine out. You see you later. So,
And-
but ours were both benign,
Yes.
not growing. So we're okay.
And I was born without tear ducts. So, we've all had complications
Is
at
that a
birth.
joke? Is it because you're
That's
emotional?
not a joke. I
you
was
cry?
born without tear ducts, yeah.
Can you cry?
No, they insert them.
They put them in.
I don't know how it works. Let's just say it's a
What do
needle.
you mean? Really? They
Yeah, it's a fun fact.
They put tear ducts in.
Yeah. So right in there, it's like the tiniest of minor surgeries. They just went,
And now you have.
it's like, let's just say it was a closed
oh,
top and they just opened it up like a scat.
So the reason you don't cry now
Like a
is because
blocked one when it's like blocked.
Sort of, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, they just needed more opening. So, yeah, like I'm saying, we're all in this together. High five, guys.
so the reason you don't cry anymore is just because you got a black heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's just lack of emotional
'cause-
intelligence. That's my problem. And Emily would say, I'd much prefer he had his tear ducts open at birth. You've done incredible things in your life. I've really enjoyed finding as much as I can out about you and doing my research and getting questions. For one, we should also mention you're at Ability Fest. That's where we met.
Yeah, with my friends, yeah.
Yeah, so Dylan, said, oh, mate, you'll do one or two things on the microphone throughout the day. All of a sudden, I'm hosting it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was your uncle, who's the loosest bloke in the world.
Legend. Uncle Ben, we love you.
We love you, Benny. He's like, let's go chat to some people. And so it was great because what it did was it disarmed me from that awkwardness of just going up and chatting to people, which I think ListenABLE, for one, people were coming up and saying, hey, listen to the podcast. That was awesome. But to have the microphone and the camera there, I was able to just chat to people. And thankfully, your uncle gave me that mic and that opportunity to walk around because I chatted to you and your friends. Mm-hmm. Awesome humans, all of you, drinking cocktails. And it was awesome to see, and we did speak about this on the mic at the time, that you were able to be there with all of your friends. But I found, and tell me that I'm wrong, they enjoyed it maybe even more so because finally they didn't have to, their favourite artist wasn't in a dungeon pit that you couldn't get down to. You were all in this one environment together. It was beautiful to see.
Yeah, and we didn't have to worry about the extra accessible needs that I would need to have when we are going out anyway. So we didn't have to wonder if there was going to be steps or anything. So we could just
call up
go
on
there.
a Thursday and go, hey, just wondering, do you have a handrail next to your toilet, etc. It's just it's expected and was there.
Yeah, and they really loved seeing the event too because they hadn't gone to an event like that. So they really found it amazing to go to.
Oh, bloody glad you came. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, that was one adventure. I need to know about you backpacking. Was it, I believe, solo?
Yes.
Through Europe for 7 weeks?
Yes, I did. Yeah, when I was 20, I went through Europe for 7 weeks by myself.
Where'd you go?
I went to Switzerland, Paris, Germany, and the UK.
Tell you what, a few stairs at all those places.
Yeah.
First question is, what's the least accessible country you visited?
I don't really know. The UK is quite interesting because a lot of their places are heritage listed, so they won't actually have lifts. Remember I went to the cinema and I had to crawl myself up the stairs with them carrying my wheelchair behind me just so I could go to the movies.
Ooh.
And that was my choice. I'm going to say that was my choice. I've paid for this ticket. I'm just going to go because by myself I've got nothing else to do. And also I'm not going to see them again, so if my shoes fall off or something, it doesn't really matter.
I just got back from Europe, very lucky to go on this holiday, and my mate Zane, who I was talking about in the intro, he'd go to a place in Florence. I'm like, do you have a disabled toilet? They're like, yeah. And he'd go in and check for me, and it'd be down 8 stairs, and he'd get so angry. He'd be like, ugh, and I'm like, mate, you're not going to be able to get angry because every place we're going to go, and they feel bad too.
Yeah.
Because the building is from the 1600s, right? So even the people that own it are like, I'm so sorry, but it's just a part of it because they're all old cities, you can't get, obviously we need accessibility and people are going to be like, well, it should be accessible. You just physically can't build some things that are accessible from 1,000 years ago.
Quick question around that. There is a bit of too bad, so sad because of the heritage listing of a building and the preservation of history, right? And I guess part of the history, and this is something I've never thought about, is that probably people with disabilities were treated horrendously back in the day because they weren't given accessibility. They were like, oh, mate, we're not putting a ramp in the Sistine Chapel because you can't go to see this painting.
Sorry to be more, but we're not alive. That just kill you.
Well, they would have. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that probably could have killed you, like scurvy.
No, but they just would have went, see you later.
You reckon?
No surgeries.
No, see you later, mate. I know that's morbid, but there was no, this other person, leave them on the hill.
Okay.
For sure, back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, so how do you guys feel about that? I mean, obviously you talked about how your friend felt about it, but when you were finding those inaccessible locations in heritage-listed places, obviously different if you've got a modern building, but did you give was there a little bit of leeway? I mean, you said you crawled up the steps, so...
No, because I've kind of experienced it my whole entire life. So if something's not accessible, it's frustrating. And when it's been the 5th place that I've gone to and it's not accessible, it is frustrating. But I was in Europe and so I didn't really care.
You had 4 Aperols in your system. What
I was like, I'm on holidays.
Yeah.
I think the big one with that is the annoying part is you get on a train station, it's got an elevator. It's so hard to get the train in Paris and London. You get on the other end, there's an elevator. You get there, elevator doesn't work and they haven't told you. That's the most annoying thing because you're like, I am 3 stories below ground right now. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? Luckily, we're in manual chairs and where you can get carried and whatever. Yeah. But if you're in an electric chair or whatever, you're absolutely screwed there,
And just the anxiety around having to ask and ensure that someone has the lift at the other end of the or the ramp at the other end of the line, that can be a bit.
I think, and I don't want to discourage any person with disability listening to not travel. I learned if I asked 100 people to help me, 99 of them said yes, even though I didn't speak English. They were like, what do you need? So it was probably one of the most beautiful learnings when I backpacked as well, of how much people want to help you.
Yeah, everyone was so willing to help or give me a lift or carry me down a stair or a step or anything. And if you are a bit embarrassed about it, you're not going to see them again.
Yeah.
It's just another fact.
My next question is, we've all done a lot of travel. We've all been to Europe. And there are some people who take advantage of people able-bodied or with disability. And I'm talking about muggings. I'm talking about people who maybe stop you and take stuff out of you.
Pickpocket?
Pickpockets.
Pickpocketing, yep.
I got robbed on the in Barcelona when I was drunk after a football game. Literally, a lady came and put her hands in my pockets while she was hugging me out of nowhere.
Oh.
You didn't notice?
Didn't notice.
But if
All my pounds, all euro gone.
If I was a robber, if I saw some fresh meat like you, I'd be like,
I was
yum.
fresh, man. I was 24 years old with the hair spiked up in a veranda. I screamed it. Did anybody take advantage of you being by yourself for the most part in a wheelchair?
Well, I was very naive when I went. I didn't have a working phone. I forgot where my purse was a couple of times, not because it was stolen, just because I was sitting on it. So I was very lucky that I wasn't mugged. I walked back to my Airbnb in Berlin, and I had no working phone. And in Melbourne, I would be petrified to do that.
Yeah.
But because I was on holiday, and I was 20 and naive, I just was like, oh, whatever. So I was very lucky because I was very naive.
The other side of that, because I don't want it to be a dampener on people with disability, what are some of the advantages of having disability or being in a chair specifically for you and travelling across the other side of the world?
You don't have to pay to go into the Louvre. You can go there completely free.
I didn't know that. I was there the other day.
Oh,
Yeah, you
I
get to cut the line.
Why didn't you tell me that 4 weeks ago?
Did you pay?
I didn't go because the line was too big. No.
Yeah, no, they escort you. And London buses, you don't have to pay.
Yeah, because the trains aren't accessible, yeah.
But they are getting better.
Do you know what the number one biggest advantage of being in a wheelchair I've decided is, Angus? I was going to tell you this.
Hit me.
Being in a wheelchair, I don't want to, okay.
Oh, here we go. Here's a caveat. I love a
There's
caveat.
so many people that are maybe of older age that don't need a wheelchair, but utilise the system. They go, we need assistance, and they cut the line, and they just walk off. Okay. If you don't need it, don't get it, because the airport staff is so under the pump at the moment, right? But being in a wheelchair, like there would be a 6-hour line through security. You literally get through in 3 minutes when you're in a wheelchair. I know when you're away. Fair enough too. Do you know why we have to do that? Because we got a board an hour and a half before you.
Oh.
That's how but there was so many people capitalising on that. Like, oh, my leg's bugged. And then they get through and they just get up and walk off. And I was like, you bastard. Don't you dare do that. However, I think that was probably one of the biggest benefits of travelling is the airports are pretty cooked at the moment around the world. Yeah. And we were just like, hello.
Yeah,
4 minutes later, we're in. It's so funny. Oh.
Yeah, I remember when I was in Singapore, I was so tired because I had decided to stay up the first leg of the flight just so I could sleep and not be as jet lagged. And I completely got escorted in Singapore from one gate to the other.
Works a treat.
Lovely. Now, you mentioned at the top you are a model.
Yes.
Now, how did modelling come into being your career?
Yeah, so it's a bit of an interesting story. I was in first year uni and I had just been dumped by my long-term boyfriend, so I was feeling very sad. And
Was that your first boyfriend?
Yep,
Okay. How long were you together for?
3 years,
How old were you when you started dating?
16.
Oh, it's pretty young. That's good.
Yeah.
So, like, as a young person with disability, was that scary as hell for you, first and foremost?
Well, because I hadn't really experienced anything else, I didn't really know what was normal and what was not. Now looking back, there were some things that I would...
Some red flags.
Red
Fair
flags.
enough.
Red flags, but, you know, he was a good person, and I think for the ages that we were at, it was quite well, and there was some other preconceived ideas from other people that I think now, I'm at an age now where I wouldn't stand for that.
Yeah.
Like the idea that they are superheroes for dating us.
Oh, them. Everyone was like giving him bigs up.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was the most amazing person. We were so cute and so lovely.
Yeah. Oh, how nice is he to do this?
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah,
like
a
a
bit of that.
Yeah.
gotcha. Gotcha.
And he was a very lovely person.
Yep.
But at that age, I didn't really think that was a red flag.
Okay, I get you.
But-
And then you became a supermodel.
And then, so then I was living outside of home for the first time.
I didn't smirk at that. I just love that Dylan rushed it. So, dumped by
Yeah.
your boyfriend. Then you
Yep.
became a
Yeah,
supermodel.
well, we hate that car, so no.
I just love Dylan's quick transition. So from dumb to supermodel.
Supermodel.
Yes, I was dumped, and because I have grown up with a disability, I didn't really have much work experience. I just done a lot of volunteering, and I had no job, and I was living out of home for the first time. So I just Googled talent agencies in Melbourne because I liked modelling and acting. And 3 years later, I'm now signed for CBD Talent, which is a world inclusive modelling agency.
Well, that's cool. So hang on. So you hit them up or they found you?
Well, I was with a smaller agency called Real People, which does like extras work in commercials. And then I was just Googling because I wanted something bigger. and they messaged me when they were coming out to Melbourne. And
I've got a question that obviously the beauty or modelling fashion industry has its own aesthetic, or has for a long time, and it is starting to see change, even though some of it does seem tokenistic.
Yeah.
Not exact. We'll get into that a little bit. I'm talking about Jess Quinn. Really spoke about, you know, she knew she was getting hired for jobs because she had one leg, and so for you, what do you define beauty as? When someone says, you know, what is beauty? I mean, we all have our own idea of what that is, but for you specifically, what is that?
That's a really interesting question.
That's why he's here.
Yeah, I think for me, beauty is just being yourself in the most authentic way possible. And I think beauty doesn't need to be what you see in the magazines.
Yeah, I think different, excuse me, I think different bodies are now getting seen as beautiful. Does that make sense? Like all kinds of different bodies, like obviously different genders and sexual orientation and size and colour and everything, but especially with disabilities. Like if you were a disabled model back in the day, it would have been a good-looking woman with one leg. That was probably it. Or we've done our disability quota, but I think they're probably exploring more and more higher levels of disability, whether it is someone in a wheelchair or electric wheelchair or Down syndrome or whatever, which I think is cool. I think it is getting a little, maybe because I'm in the echo chamber, but I feel like it is getting a little less tokenistic, personally. I don't know. What do you think as an able-bodied person saying that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to see campaigns that do feature all sizes, shapes, and colours, and it does seem like the message and the consistency of brands doing that.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I think is important. Because I remember back in the day, I went on Urban Outfitters. That's where I used to go on the sales section because they were a UK-based brand, so their sales stuff was our next season because they were going out of it.
No wonder you got mugged.
And so I would order from Urban Outfitters, and I just remember it was white dude. And I remember because the sizing chart just says male is, you know, model is 6'1", wearing size 32 jeans.
Yeah.
You know, straight. And I was like, okay. And then I re-downloaded the app to try and I needed some new threads maybe a couple of months ago, and there is larger dudes, like shirts off, showing off the side. And I was like, here we go. Now we have some better representation.
I think that's so amazing because can you imagine as a young disabled teenager where you're going through all of the changes and you're feeling so uncomfortable with yourself, and then you have the additional prejudices, and then you go into a shop and no one looks like you.
Yeah, it's hard.
Which I know that's something definitely that I struggled with.
For sure. Can you talk about your want to show people and express your beauty on a stage, because you're putting yourself out there to allow other people, not allow, but, you know, you're opening yourself up to trolls, I guess, coming in there, because here's what I've really discovered about, you know, people with disability putting themselves out there into sort of the fashion and modeling, is that people go, oh, you think you're hot? So, and then it's like, that's the problem. Is like, so it's not that they wouldn't have a problem with you if you were going down the street, but it's the fact that you're putting yourself out there in lingerie, and they're going, hang on, you think you're beautiful and you can do it. That's the problem I see.
Yeah.
How have you found, you know, expressing your beauty on a platform?
Well, I think when someone's like that, it just shows they feel threatened by another person feeling confident and wholeheartedly accepting themselves. So I think I've just learned to wholeheartedly accept myself, and to me that is just the why I do it, because I don't really care what other people think anymore.
Do you genuinely wholeheartedly accept yourself? Are you just saying that?
No, I think I genuinely do. I genuinely do. I wholeheartedly love the person that I am today. Saying that, I would be lying if I said that I didn't accept being disabled every single day.
Yeah, you still have anxieties. What things?
Yeah.
What?
But
things,
I know that if I wasn't disabled, I wouldn't be me, and I love me.
Yeah, I get that. That's good.
Love it.
What? Speaking of modelling, what brands have you worked for? Have we heard of any of them?
Instagram.
What's someone called?
Instagram.
Don't think I've heard of that. Is that new?
Or the actual Instagram.
The actual Instagram. So they had people coming over from America for some stills and photos, and that was my
You
first.
modeled for at Instagram.
Yes, that was my
That's
first ever
gangster.
job.
First ever job.
But it was just a bit.
Most people start at Osh Gosh Bagosh.
I was
I
on
know.
Ray's Outdoors catalogue. Yeah. Literally standing next to a Coleman tent.
That is good. Actually,
Yeah, I've done other jobs, and I've definitely realised the realities of the situation.
yeah, you started high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started
downhill from there.
high.
Bad
yeah.
precedent to set yourself up.
I
though,
know.
you know?
I was like, oh, yeah, you get buffet lunches every single day. No.
No, not the case.
Yeah.
If you are so accepting of yourself, if you love yourself, if you, find beauty in your body, as you should, why did you have a breast reduction?
It was just medical, really. So, yes, I had a breast reduction when I was 19 because I had very large breasts from 13. And because I have quite severe scoliosis, I've had the
What does scoliosis mean?
scoliosis is when your spine is twisty-turny and it presses on your lungs and other necessary.
Can't sit up straight. I've got scoliosis too.
Yeah. Have you had like rods?
Breast reduction?
Yeah, I haven't had a breast reduction yet, but I haven't been training. So
They're growing.
they're growing. So I can't have a rods. You get rods in your back, Angus,
It's a
to straighten you
lot.
up. But because my tumour was around my spine, if I got rods, there'd be huge risk of more spinal damage. So I got a natural curve. One reason why you and I may have to stay fit is the bigger you get, like the harder, the more strain on your back. There's more scoliosis, the more problems you might have because your spine might start letting on your kidneys or your lungs or whatever. So obviously, if you had a lot of weight on the front as your breasts, that's weight that adds to that scoliosis, I imagine.
Yeah, and because of the scoliosis and the rods, my breasts would have been, if I was able-bodied, could have been a completely normal size, but because of the scoliosis and the rods kind of impacting on my growth, because I'm quite a short person, it was just really disproportionate.
Yeah.
And it did make me, I was insecure about it. So I had the surgery because I was insecure about it, but also I had a lot of back pain and I was very hunched over. And since the breast reduction, I've really found that my back, it was immediately gone, the back pain.
It's good.
Wow.
And it did help with my body acceptance, which you don't need to have plastic surgery for body acceptance.
No, but
No, well, yours was medical.
Yeah.
Now, this is a little bit of not a warning, but this is a little message to parents with maybe impressionable ears in the car. We are now going to discuss a little bit more around sex because last night, I sat on the couch, I pressed play. I think it premiered only a little while ago as we go to recording.
Last Thursday, yeah.
Right, so I caught up on SBS On Demand, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And I pressed play on the documentary you were in was called We Are Sexual Beings. Yes. Now, I started pressing play. You're one of the first voices that comes out there in your story. You're sitting on, around Fitzroy, I think, with your sister and your assistant's dogs who's here today. Assistant dog?
Oh, she's not assistant.
No, she's a dog.
She's just a pet. She's just
Okay,
a dog.
all right. Well, we got her in the building by saying she was the assistant's dog, so she's an assistant's dog.
Yeah, Maggie the greyhound.
Maggie the greyhound.
Is, just before we get into the sexual beings chat, Maggie is bigger than you. How do you have
She
such
is.
a big dog? I can't even control Sauce, who weighs 4 kilos. Maggie is literally like a 50-kilo dog.
Yeah, she's 29.
Okay,
so
that
she's
was a bit
only
harsh, but-
10 kilos lighter than me, which is not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It did take a lot of training. A lot of times feeling very frustrated on our walks. A lot of times my sister did record me because I was
How many times did you fall out? Tell me.
a lot.
Okay, cool.
A lot.
That's all I need. That'll do.
Quite a lot of times.
We'll get the
Couple of
video
times-
for our Instagram.
Yeah, a
right?
couple of times having to call my sister to say, can you come
Can you help me?
get Maggie because I've fallen out.
Nice.
But, no, she's a beautiful
She's
dog.
cute.
gorgeous.
She hasn't
Very
made any
cute.
noise. And
Her
she is an
train-
assistant's dog, isn't she?
Yes.
Wink,
Yes,
wink, yes.
she
course.
started training. She's had 3 training sessions.
Yeah, good job.
She's doing well.
Great. So I watched We Are Sexual Beings.
Yes.
I'm about 5 minutes in. Get this. What are you watching? Because I'm on my laptop. What are you watching?
Who's that from?
Emily, my partner.
Yep.
She's like, what are you watching? I'm like, I'm watching this doco on SBS. I guess tomorrow that we're recording features on it. She goes, oh, a couple more minutes pass. The content's being, is quite, it's definitely not controversial. It's provocative at best, but it gives a great insight into 3 different people, including yourself, Maya, who have are all in chairs.
Yep.
All spinal cord injuries.
Yeah, we all funnily had spinal cord
Yeah.
injuries.
Ollie Pizzi's on there?
Ollie's in there.
Yes.
Yeah, who's had some stuff with the Dylan Alcoff Foundation. He's a good man. And Christina Vithulkis.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
thing about her is, again, Penny and Zane, who I travelled with, it's their cousin.
Oh,
There you go. Yeah, Penny Vathulkas is her name.
Small world.
Small world. There you go.
Small world.
And so it was your three stories about sex in your life
Yeah,
with
and
disability and dating. More importantly,
More
dating.
important, yeah.
Sorry, absolutely. And Emily all of a sudden just comes and sits on the couch, and all of a sudden she's as invested as I am in it. It was a really great documentary. We're going to have the link below in the show notes. But
Very entertaining.
yeah, for you, very entertaining. But for you, why did you put your hand up to that? And what were you hoping? Let's say able-bodied people or other people with disability would gain from your story about dating.
I just really wanted the preconceived ideas around disabled people and dating to just be completely smashed. Because you always get people kind of have these preconceived ideas about how disabled people cannot have sex or can't have kids or can't go on dates. And we kind of just wanted to show it in an entertaining way that disabled people have the exact same disabled dating experiences, as able-bodied people.
How did you get cast?
So Ollie Pizzy Stratford put out a casting call because he knows Isaac, the director, and I messaged the director and we had a couple of Zoom chats, and then they went to SBS and pitched the show, and then they called me and said, awesome, we'll have you on board.
We'll have to get Ollie on. On a side note, where was Ollie's cameo in the last episode of Neighbours? He got cast in
know.
Neighbours and the bloody show got shut down.
did he?
Yeah.
It sucks. I felt so... I was like, where's my Ollie and Toadfish? Goodbye.
Cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So were you a bit nervous about being that authentically honest about your sexual life on TV?
Yes, but we actually had a sexual and intimacy coordinator on set who called us because that date that I went on was completely filmed from start to finish.
Wait. So if people haven't seen the show,
So
talk
I go
about
on a date on the show
Yeah.
with a guy, and it was filmed from start to finish.
He knows that it was getting filmed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And it wasn't shot like
He knew.
it wasn't like secret.
he knew.
Well, he probably should have stopped talking a little bit. Big talker, that bloke.
Can we ruin the show or not?
No, I mean, let's just say there's a lot of head nodding from Maya during that.
Okay, we
during
don't
that
like the
day.
guy. Cool. So, what does the coach do to make sure nothing happens and like educate
Just to
you?
make sure that I am completely comfortable. Because
Okay.
we were talking about things that I probably wouldn't talk about
On a
in
first
my
date.
day-to-day
Yeah.
on a first day or to national television.
Okay.
So
Like what? Sorry, I haven't seen it. Tell me.
just about like how I feel confident within myself or how you go about dating and having sex and areas like that. And just to make sure that I was completely comfortable and consenting to every single bit
Love
of
that.
information.
That's important.
Because sometimes you can talk about things and then you realise, actually, I don't really want to.
It's so funny. Like, I'm comfortable talking about. Obviously,
Yeah.
people like on a first date, you're never going to be like, oh, I mean, unless it's a successful first date, maybe. But you know what I mean? You don't. Maggie's going for a walk.
Yeah, just go.
Maggie's just going to say
Maggie just come the other side of the desk to
Just
me.
say hello.
You don't really bring it up on your first date, that kind of
No.
stuff. But then it's so funny, different cultures. Like I was in Holland, the Netherlands. They're pretty blunt.
Yeah.
10 minutes into meeting this guy, he goes, so do you have sex with your dick? Just straight up. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's pretty upfront, bros.
You do get a kind of.
You know what I mean?
few
You get
interesting
you
ones.
get a wide breadth of people.
Even pick up lines too. It's disgusting.
Do you get something like that?
Oh yeah, I've had someone say to me, even a couple of weeks ago, say to me, "I will rail you so hard that you'll walk again." That was the first line.
You can say it on the mic. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, yeah, and you get things like that too. And
What? Who said that to you? Did you?
just-
I maybe you punched him in the gonads.
I think I just said like ill, and then I unmatched.
Was that on like Tinder or in
Oh
real
yeah,
life?
oh no, on Tinder.
I think they're just being
In real
troll-
life,
as
no
in-
one has the.
But I have had
not the
someone
confidence, but
Nah.
ask me on a date if I could be cured.
Oh yeah,
Which is-
yucky people.
Cured from what?
I know,
Yeah, I was going to
exactly.
say that's so ridiculous. Do you think that doing, like when you watch the show back, is this something that you wish you might have had when you were kind of growing up or had an
100%.
accident?
100%, because I remember having my first relationship. I had no idea.
Okay,
Yeah, I had no idea.
how to go about it? Yeah, and I remember one of the lines from Christina because I've seen it on her Instagram
Yeah.
is she's having better sex as a paraplegic than she had as an able-bodied person. She reckons.
Oh,
Do you reckon she's saying that? Do you reckon that's legit?
I wouldn't know because I.
yeah. I was going to say,
Mm.
hard for you
Before or
to
after.
compare.
Yeah, but I'd kind of genuinely not that I met her, I believe, like she seems authentic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a really good,
I think you understand your body in a different way when you
Yeah.
are disabled.
and, you know, we've obviously talked about sex and disability a few times on this, but especially with Chantel, but you can have sex in any way you can have sex. I think that was
100%.
like, and that you had 3 paraplegics pretty much on there, or
Yeah.
quadriplegic, talking about that.
Yeah.
People with electric wheelchairs, people with one leg, people with autism, whatever, they have different in different ways. So I think that doco is it's awesome, but it doesn't speak to every person with disability. Everybody would have a different opinion on how they do it, but everyone can do it in their own way.
100%.
Time for the Bowl of Uncomfortable. The Bowl of Uncomfortable is where people will send us a question about our guest, and therefore they can ask you a question maybe they wouldn't have the confidence asking you in person.
Yeah.
This one is actually really interesting. You ready?
Yes, I am ready.
And I can tell that this person means absolutely the best
Yeah.
when they say it.
I mean, most people do anyway.
Of course.
Except for that one pickup line. I can't get over
course
that.
I
What a flog.
Hi, Maya. Firstly, I loved you on SBS, the doco. And please know I can't wait to hear your empowering answer to this question. You have a checklist of your perfect guy on your phone, something that was shown on the doco.
Yeah.
Do you feel you're limiting yourself even more than you may already be, as a majority of men partners already wouldn't date you because you're a quadriplegic?
Can I ask the checklist first?
The checklist.
Well, actually, after this, can we get the checklist out?
Yeah,
But you know
I
what,
made
get it
the
now, get it
pandemic.
first.
It wasn't
Okay.
actually like, it's not like every single date I go on now, okay?
Yeah,
Hang
hang
on.
on.
It was
Get
just-
it out. Have you got it?
Yeah, it's on my phone.
Yeah,
I
come
think
on.
that's
Read it
how-
out first.
You reckon read it out first?
Or after?
I reckon do the answer first
Okay,
and
do
then
the
we'll go
answer-
through the
do
list.
The answer first. All right.
Do you think you're limiting yourself?
No, I don't think so. I think I know what I want and I know what I'm looking for in a partner that's best for me. In terms of values, at the end of the day, it's still just about values. I'm not going, if they're not a doctor, it's not like I'm going to say see you later. Or because I'm vegan, I will date someone that eats meat. So I'm not limiting myself in like the kind of material.
The trivial kind of
Yeah,
thing.
the trivial things. It's just more about the values, and I know what I'm looking for. So I don't think that I'm limiting myself. I am kind of limiting myself in the way that I'm not opening myself up to date just anybody.
Okay. Time to read out the list.
Can I read it, that list?
Oh, do you want Dill to read
Oh,
the
I'll
list?
read it.
Are you okay with Dill
Do you
reading the
mind if I
list?
read the list? Okay, you read the list.
Okay, you read the list.
It was kind of like, let's see if I still have it. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Oh, here we go.
It's
I
pretty
read this
long.
list. Oh my God, it's
It
huge.
was made during the pandemic. So it wasn't,
Hey, stop making excuses.
Let's read the list.
okay.
I think be comfortable too. You
Is
read
this
it
in
all.
is this in order of preference or random?
Oh, no, I just was bored one day and I just
Okay.
wrote it.
Okay.
Kind, caring, funny, passionate,
Like it.
a doctor.
Okay, that's weird.
Okay.
That's not needed.
Yeah.
Smart, cares about social justice issues because that's what I really like.
Fair enough. I like that.
Is calm, doesn't get aggressive.
Important.
Oh, very important.
Very important. Takes time out in an argument because I can be a bit defensive.
Yeah.
Is a good communicator, level-headed,
It was nice.
has my back, doesn't shame or blame.
Any weird ones in there?
They like
Have you
animals.
skipped a weird one?
Wants to travel. Love person.
I saw your eyes just roll over one.
Yeah, you're
before.
rolling over them. Read the weird ones.
No, I'm not going to read them.
Read the weird ones.
They're not weird,
Just
but they're
read
just
them
like
out.
super personal.
Specific.
That I don't know.
Okay, well, no, no.
Okay.
We're not doing
They're
anything.
not
you're
weird. I
comfortable.
promise they're not weird.
I gotcha.
Okay.
But they're like very
You
specific
can
to
read
you.
it and you can say that they're not weird.
Okay, can I won't
Yeah,
read
don't
it
read
out.
it
Yeah.
out. Just
They're not weird.
No, they're good.
Yeah, they're good. They're just like,
doesn't like Alan's black cats. What? That's so specific.
Well, they're very cute. They're nice. I mean, it's pretty hard.
yeah.
If
but
I had all these things, I'd be like,
This-
marry this person.
no, I'm not like.
Okay.
I'm not.
Well,
I'm
before-
not setting myself on
What?
on that list.
No redheads. That's a bit harsh. No, that's not,
It's not there.
that's not there.
I am not that.
I'm just
person.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Before we let you go, off that list,
Yeah.
you know Dylan and I, not well, but enough.
Yes.
Who do you think is more of the ideal man for you
Ooh.
out of the two of us?
Oh. Do I have to say?
Yes, of course.
100%.
Angus, I'd have to
Oh,
say.
that's
Sorry.
bullshit.
Yeah, you look like Taron Egerton from.
Wait, that's just
Oh.
because you're attracted to him, not because of the list
No,
stuff. Nah,
no,
I hit
he's-
the list.
as if he's not
Kind,
loyal.
caring,
He'll dog us
intelligent,
straight away.
funny, and I look like Rocket Man. I'll take that. What am I?
What he looks like
What's his
Elton
name?
John, that Elton John actor guy.
Yeah, that's Taron Egerton.
guy who's just in,
Kingsman.
Do you want to look like Elton John?
No, Kingsman.
No, you just said you look like Rocket
No,
Man.
no,
Nah,
Kingsman.
you
I'll
just-
take
you just took Elton
Elkie,
John.
whatever his name was in that show. Hey, thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
But before we let you go as well, you do a lot in the youth case manager space as well.
Yes.
Is that for people with disability, youth homelessness, or just everybody?
No, so I'm a youth homelessness case
Awesome.
manager.
Awesome.
Full time case manager, helping young people that are deemed homeless, and homelessness can look completely different. It's not just what you see on Swanson Street. It can be couch surfing.
Yep. If you want anyone to get in touch with you around that or to book you for modelling gig, what up, Facebook, book her. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is d.mayer with 3 underscores.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it looked like 2 on my screen, but 3.
It's 3, yeah.
Yeah, but if you get to d.mayer, it pops up.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, well, it did for us.
Cool.
But 3 underscores if you do specifically want to find Mayer. But we've made it very easy. 1 click below, we'll send you straight
I
to
also
the
just
Instagram.
unfollowed you because you just chose Angus, Elton John.
No!
And I've just added you to my close friends
Well, you
list.
both
so
have-
Oh, hey!
You both have partners.
you know.
I wouldn't get too upset.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
I'm pissed.
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
you
We
so
really
much for
appreciate
having
your
me.
time.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing in your beautiful dog and sharing your story so openly.
Johnny, mate, you're a
Appreciate it.
legend. Appreciate it.
Thank you.